Hey, I'm Michael Bricker,
And I'm Hunter McFadden.
and we're Bytes in the Bayou, here to talk about things that are regarding AI, the shifting landscape that small businesses, mid-sized businesses are having to encounter while they don't have the resources every time of maybe these larger companies that are bringing
And
it
how
up.
you can take advantage of AI yourself and help propel your business forward and keep it secure.
Today's topic of discussion is going to be around how cybersecurity has shifted a little bit with the introduction, I guess not introduction, the widespread use of AI and how it's infiltrated businesses, either in a good way or a bad way. And then two, what is the actual landscape that business owners are dealing with and what's the liability they're having?
And real quick, today's episode is brought to you by GreenCube, and special thanks to Brian Bendley for letting us use his podcast room.
It's amazing. First thing I wanted to ask, just to get into the meat and bones of it, is what are we looking at? What are we looking at whenever we're talking about cybersecurity in this sense, right? Cybersecurity spans a very, very large array of threats and many things there. What exactly are we going to talk today about?
So, I think from a business owner standpoint, is that you're looking to protect your data, your customers' data, and your business, and thereby your ability to employ your employees. So there's a lot at stake, right? My whole business might be at stake if I click the wrong thing or I inadvertently transfer money to a vendor that's not a vendor, right? So all these things are at the forefront, and that's how people are getting to you. But I think if we maybe rewind the clock a little bit, maybe 5-6 years ago, let's talk about, pre-COVID or right after COVID time frame, and like what did that landscape look like?
I think that's when cybersecurity really started to get at least a good name, right? I think you saw
I think it's when it became its own branch of IT, right? There was a lot of, cybersecurity is kind of indicative of IT, but it's really has become its own branch of IT, not just, part of IT.
Right.
It's, you see people with, chief information security officer now, as opposed to just a chief information officer or a, IT director that has here's a cybersecurity director, and they work in tandem, but they're at the same level in the enterprise. But, we're not here to talk about enterprise, but we're just talking about that shift.
But it plays into it though, because that's what we're starting out with, right? Is you have these companies that are making entire roles to handle the subset of problems that have emerged, right?
Right.
And so they've got to keep that in a box. And what we're hoping with this is that at least on the same plane, right? The cybersecurity branch off that. Maybe we don't have the money for a CTO or a CISO, but we still need to at least increase our threshold.
Right.
Right. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is increasing that threshold.
Okay.
Right. Can you lay the landscape for us a little bit, though? Let's say 5 years ago, like we're talking about.
Yeah.
Lay the landscape. What was a SMB, maybe a 3-site, 4-site location company, or maybe going in from 10 to 25 employees? What was their main thing that they were worried about back in 5 years ago?
I think it was more, data protection, making sure that if I had a corrupt file system or a corrupt computer, I could recover from it. Disaster recovery scenarios like we've had with hurricanes or, weather related, and I've got to move my operations. So that was a big concern. Phishing attempts weren't so, I guess, a concern. That you would see them, but you could identify them real easily because of the language being used, right? In that phishing email, it could be that whoever was writing the phishing email didn't understand the English language very well.
Right, I remember those.
Maybe they talked like Yoda, as
Yeah.
opposed to your friend in the cubicle next to you, right?
Exactly.
You're like, oh, that's fake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
automatically. And like you really didn't worry about it. I always remember, or I always loved from at Microsoft.com or Microsoft.net. Just different ways that you could obviously identify it.
Or what about the fake video that you're like, yeah, You remember Jib Jab?
Uh-uh.
You never heard of Jib Jab? So Jib Jab is a and maybe some of our audiences actually used it, but you could actually upload pictures of you, maybe your family or your team, and you send out like Christmas cards or whatever in their video cards, and it's just the picture hit the head, right, and then the mouth kind of moves up and down to the
Got you.
it could be the Beatles tune or it could be whatever, but it's very interesting. You know, that's you talk about deep fakes and whatever videos. Those were pretty neat. You know, you're putting your face out there, but you could recognize that as being fake. You knew that was fake. It was entertainment or whatever. But as things have progressed, are you still able to recognize fake from real?
Yeah, I saw one where they said Microsoft.com, same idea, right? But it was actually an R and an N, and to make up the M, right? And on the TypeScript, you can't easily identify.
Very hard to tell.
So yeah, sure. I am always, anybody watching out there, I'm always very cybersecurity aware. I'm always checking my stuff. But I mean, after a full day and I'm going through emails at 6 p.m., I'm like,
on your phone?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, okay, what is this? I gotta sign back into Microsoft. Golly, you know what I mean? It becomes that easy. So keep it here though for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
That 5 years ago, one thing too I remember was like, sure, scamming and phishing was an issue, but it was also more like either on your personal account or would you say there was a bit of anonymity that an SMB, a smaller company had?
Yeah.
Because
so, you kind of have to look at these hackers. These hackers are in business, right? They have their own business. So to speak. They're definitely not a not-for-profit entity.
Yeah. They're not doing this for the free time.
No, they're not doing it for free.
Yeah.
I mean, this is how they're quote-unquote making money, or it could have been, a nation state doing the same thing. But again, they're doing it for the money.
Or a mission-driven purpose.
Or mission-driven purpose. So obviously they have to spend money to pay people to do these nefarious acts.
Sure.
And obviously they got to sell it to them as it's quote unquote not nefarious, because I don't think people
willingly sign up on job day and say, hey, I'm going to go. Who knows?
I want to be a hacker.
Yeah.
But at the same token, they have to spend money to get it, right? So there's a return on investment, an ROI that businesses look for. Well, the same thing here. They're looking for a return on investment. So they were not casting so wide a net because that's expensive.
And it was fully manual.
And it's fully manual and time consuming. So what can I go after now and get through and break through a barrier so that I can get into a larger fish and catch that larger fish and initiate the ransomware attack.
Yep.
So there's lots of things that happen in that case.
Yeah, and so I think there was a viable option. Like when I go around and talk to clients, and they, especially SMB, and they don't have a firewall. If this was 5 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, maybe not have justified the expense of $50, $100 a month to keep that going. But now, you look at things like cybersecurity insurance. That is a major line item in budgets nowadays.
Well, it's not just that, but just to check off all the check marks so that you don't have a large premium, so that you can have the cyber liability insurance, goes a long way. And so we've actually helped clients answer those questions, go through that form, and ensure that they had the proper things in place. And
I'm sure it's more than people think about.
It is. It's a lot.
They think, well, I probably should get cybersecurity insurance. And then next thing you know, it's a whole book of worms. A can of worms. So I guess that's where we can start to shift then. So now you've got this landscape, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we did start to see this shift, especially in the phishing attacks. I think phishing was the first thing that was maybe automated or made to be able to hit more targets faster and with more accuracy. Yeah. Was that fair?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I've seen it happen, in the businesses I've worked for. I've seen the phishing come in, and a lot of it's pretty dang convincing.
Real convincing. Yeah. Really well written.
Yeah.
Not by a human.
Targeted towards your company too. It used to be.
It is so easy. Okay, so every tool that we use in sales and marketing, right? To go find out who, basically we have target customers, in business. Like,
Right.
and we're using Target, but just think of it. We've already identified the hacking business is a business, so they have target customers.
Yeah. Ideal clients.
Ideal clients. Who's my ideal client? Who can I best serve? And there's so many data sources out there on, who those people are,
Sure.
who works for those companies. You can go in LinkedIn profiles. Some people have public Facebook profiles.
Yep.
So I can get all this information.
I regularly do on a daily basis.
Yes, but 5 years ago, it used to take you a lot of manual effort to get that. Now you can run an AI prompt and go say, hey, research XYZ company.
Yep.
Give me the top 10 officials or who owns that company or whatever. Research them. Go, okay, now I got a target.
Sure.
And now you went from
Hold
phishing.
on, let's pause right here because I want people to understand how easy it is nowadays to make stuff like that happen, right? And it's a really, if you're not using that in your business and you do have a target of a market, you could actually go out and sell to many businesses that would fit your ideal profile. There are ways to say, okay, here's the domain. Take the domain and find out all of their locations. From there, take the domain and find out all the websites that are associated with this domain. And then from there, go to the Better Business Bureau, go to federal databases, whatever else is public record, and find out who is in what seats at that company. From there, attach that to a business data tool, Zoom info, things like that. And you get their, you get their emails, get their phone numbers. And then from there, look on LinkedIn.
Who they partnered with, who's their customers,
and all of that can be controlled with APIs, right? So like you technically, and maybe they're doing this, maybe they're not, but most likely they are. Most likely they've invested and also moved faster than a lot of businesses who didn't like the idea of exchanging data so fast, right? They're not worried about that. They're trying to collect as much data as possible, and so they're connecting this and they're running a bot, an agent that is putting all that in a nice little package,
right?
And then shipping it out in email.
I kind of want to shift just a little bit. I mean, we're describing tools, right, that we use in business.
Yes.
For legitimate purposes.
Right.
Right. We want to advertise or we want to serve ideal customers, and we want to find where they
where does
hang out.
Our value fit most?
Like Michael, if you were operating a company that Greenkeep wanted to serve, I would want to know, hey, what conference are you going to? What are you attending? Where do you hang out? What social media platform do you use? And all of that. And it's all publicly available. I can go find that out.
Sure.
Right? So then I can reach out to you in a friendly manner and court you for your business.
And make sure that there was actual value to be had between us. I get that.
Exactly, to build trust and all that. Well, these people are using the exact same tools, have the same data resources. They're coupling it with AI, and they're sending mass emails out, or even becoming friends with you on LinkedIn or Facebook, and you're like, oh yeah, you're accepting it. And I'd be very careful with that, by the way. You need to look at it, see what their profile actually is. And they're doing that so that their AI who's connected to that can go out and look at, hey, what have you posted? What is your writing style? What makes Michael Bricker tick?
Yeah.
What are you attracted to? And so they're building this profile of you so that they can go act as you inside your organization.
Wow.
So now I've gathered all that. Once I come in and I send a phishing attempt and somebody in your organization clicks on it and they pop in their Microsoft credentials because you're hosted with Microsoft, and now I'm in as them. I am backdoored in as them. I can now run my AI against their entire mailbox and figure out how they write emails, who they write emails to. And now I can pose myself as them very effectively and start spear phishing
Right.
at big clients, known and unknown, and that
Wow.
go. And now it just escalated my attack surface.
Right. And so, these things are going on, and it's something that we're all going to get very acquainted with over the next 10 years. So, no, we can't all go out right now and hire a CISO. No, we can't all go out right now and get cybersecurity insurance because we don't have the ramification or the requirements for it, or because we don't have the capital to do so. So at this point, I think what we're trying to do here is to be able to raise a threshold. And so how can we raise the threshold? For example, I've heard in the past money, access, and data. Those are the three things that we need to pause on. Could you explain what each of those are? If it requires money, if it requires access, or requires data?
So I want to make sure we've covered the first questions, like, oh, I'm too small. Not anymore. Because who are you doing business with as a small business? Yeah, you may be too small or can't afford stuff or whatever, but you're doing business with somebody who can, and so that's why they're targeting it in mass, that kind of thing. So going back to kind of rephrase your question, if you don't mind.
Sure. So what I was saying was how do we raise a threshold for people who are in that bucket? But you're in a good spot. I think
we need to.
Yeah.
We want to raise the bar but lower the threshold.
There we go.
Right.
Yeah.
So we want to raise the bar of what your cybersecurity posture is, right? But lower the barrier for entry. So, and a good way to do that is to actually contract with an MSP, a managed service provider, or MSSP, a managed security service provider. And usually they partner with an MSP. And for the most part, those tools are based on subscription models, either based on device or user or both, and they're not so unobtainable. But you do need a budget for it.
Okay.
So and that gets you part of the way there, right? And then there's other tools like security awareness training that you need to present to your employees and make sure that they're getting trained and can identify these new forms of phishing attacks, these new forms of social media attacks.
Right.
You need to put policies in place to say, hey, we don't do wire transfers without 2 authorizations.
Smart.
Or something like that.
Right.
Or we don't transfer money, we don't do something with money without multiple checks and balances.
Same thing for things that are asking for access.
Yeah. So going back to the financial thing, a lot of small businesses hire a CPA firm. You need to have an agreement with your CPA firm that, hey, this is how we ask for money. Right, to be transferred,
we will never
wired,
ask this way.
Payroll, or whatever. We're not ever going to do this via email. And you can go as far as say, we're going to do this phone call. But here's the thing there, and this is what things are getting better at. There are platforms out there that are recording your voice. Well, this one being one of them.
Hello.
So
we're starting getting a little scared of these mics.
Right, I know, right. So, but then you have voice over IP platforms that can put a caller ID down the dial path that's not the real number, but it's the caller ID. And so you could think, Michael, I could call you using a different system that's got a voice recording of me that has a caller ID of my cell phone. And
even though it's not the number that's being
have
called.
AI have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
To direct you towards a certain goal.
Sure. So then having those stopgaps in place in your processes. So like you're saying the first thing isn't just go buy McAfee or some kind of cybersecurity watchdog, right? Instead, it's look at your processes and find where you can create little human stopgaps so that these don't just go willy-nilly throughout your business.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. And so I don't know, how would you go about that if you're a business owner? How would you start to look at that? Would you look at how do you actually create purchase orders and vending, and how do you relate to your vendors? Where would you start?
Well, I would start by, where am I most vulnerable? Like if somebody was posing as me, what could they do?
What kind of damage could they create?
Yeah, what kind of damage could they create? And then what kind of verification could I put in place for my employees and my vendors to ensure that, hey, this is Hunter calling me and asking for this.
Sure.
And sometimes it's as simple as, hey, if I request this, you go, okay, and then you hang up and call me back.
Genius. Simple.
Because even though we've already said that they can, take your caller ID and put it down and so that somebody's calling your cell phone as them, if you call back, that call path actually goes to the cell phone and not to the AI that called you.
Yeah, that's genius.
So it's a simple step, but it's like, well, did you think about that? Is that a process in your system?
I really don't think so. I really don't think that at this point. I think it's sometimes rears its head as a big beast that nobody really wants to go around, right? So they'll just kind of avoid it. Hopefully, they never go that part of that part of the world. Or it's now I have to go buy a bunch of tools automatically, and so it's really helpful. I'm really glad that you gave that insight there. I do think, though, there is also a conversation about the technology that's happening in your business, especially around the AI, right? In our first episode, we talked about the fact that it's already in your company.
It's already being used. You just probably don't even know about it.
Right.
Somebody's got it on their phone. Somebody's got it on their computer. Somebody's got it on their iPad.
And so I think with any technology, the first conversation to be had is adoption and access. Usually, whenever you implement a new tool, there is a learning curve, right? And some people adopt it very quickly, some people don't. And I think you're going to see that with AI as well. A lot of times companies say, hey, we just got Copilot for everybody, or we just got Claude for everybody, except for you have 40% of your employees were already really, really comfortable with ChatGPT. And so guess what? They probably stayed at least a little bit on ChatGPT. So we talked about this in the first one, but we should go a little bit deeper here. You want to create, I think it starts with a mission. It starts with a culture of acceptance, understanding, and curiousness. But then it has to have at some point a hard line, right? A policy per se that keeps it.
An acceptable use policy and a governance policy, right? And you still have to treat AI as another security boundary. And if you're even thinking about using agents or bots, then you really need to go through your systems and security boundaries and make sure you're well defined in that.
Let's pause there. Why? What is it between the AI that we know today, right? The AI that sits on our phone and we talk to it every once in a while, or we have it solve a problem, to agentic AI?
Well, it's just, you can look in recent news. ChatGPT was doing a test, right? And they end up, the AI was supposed to be contained. It ends up getting out of its containment, out of its boundaries, because it has a mission. It was given a goal, right? But it wasn't given like defined boundaries. One, and it got out on the internet, and
it wasn't nefarious. It wasn't doing that on purpose.
But it was going to get information, but it used leaked credentials, went out to another organization, got into that organization, found the information it was looking for.
To score high on its test, its security test, that's what it was looking for.
And came back with the information.
And so, that's a massive company, global scale, all that great stuff. But what it highlights in the metaphor for everyone else is that it will do what it is asked. You got to make sure you're asking it the right way and within the right box, right?
Oh, yeah, well, it's not. It'll do with what it's asked, right? If you give it a goal, a well-defined goal, it's going to go do it, and it's going to use whatever tools. I mean, I don't know if you've dealt with it much, but I've seen it load up tools that it can use to go do the goal that I asked it to go do. And you're like, whoo, that's a little crazy.
Let's give everybody an understanding of that real fast.
I think it's like
with
any task or job that you give even a human to do. Like if I were to give Michael a job to go do something, and I don't give him well-defined parameters, he's going to go make stuff up to go get it done. Now, somebody that I trust that makes good decisions and I give them a well-defined goal, well, that's exactly what I want an employee to do, but you can't do that with agentic AI. You must have the security boundaries as well and the ability to go click and turn it off.
Yeah.
Just, so be careful with that.
But there are more pieces to it, right? And there are more more ways that it can come in, and people haven't been exposed to it.
Yeah.
I think in 5 years this will be more commonplace here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's put some final thoughts to this.
Well, reeling it back, so what is the landscape today? What is the landscape? I think phishing is one of those obvious and easy ones that is going to keep getting better.
It's getting better. The people posing on LinkedIn, people applying for jobs that aren't people, they're AI. That's crazy too, because then you've got these people applying and you go, oh, that's a really good employee. Let's call him. Now you're talking to AI and you're giving away company data, and now you're sourcing, you're recording your voice, and now they can call. Dude, it's like my mind gets scary fast, right? When I go down some of these things, but at the same token, I have to remember it's a tool. And just like any other tool, it can be used for good and bad. Money is a tool. I was always taught money is a tool, but it's a magnifying glass of the person who uses it.
It's the same thing for artificial intelligence.
Yep, I can use money for good, or I can use money for evil. So, and it's whether am I using that tool for personal gain, or am I using it for others' gain? So I think there's a lot of mindset that goes into it and behind it, but you have to be cognizant of the fact that there are people out there that will use a tool for their gain.
Which is no different than what we've seen in the past, right? Yep. We built systems
this tool just allows them to do it more quickly and adapt faster.
Yep. And that's what we're going to do. That's what we're setting out, is how do you keep adapting?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'll say this just to kind of wrap it up. Give a second thought about anything that has to do with the exchange of money, the exchange of access into your business, or the exchange of data. See if you can find the obvious weak points there. And if you can change just your manual processes, I think that's a win.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
you have to protect yourself.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
Cool, man. Again, special thanks to GreenCube for sponsoring this, and Brian Bentley for letting us have access to this wonderful space. Yeah. And we'll be back here again.
When is our next Bytes on the Bayou event?
Oh, next Bytes on the Bayou event is fourth Thursday
of every month,
which is August 23rd.
And you can find out more information at bytesonthebayou.com.
That's BYTES.
BYTES, bytesonthebayou.com. Yeah, absolutely.
Come join us. Thanks.